It's now my honor to introduce you to your graduation speaker, Elina Kousourna. Elina is currently the CEO of Maje, where she's redefining the brand's fundamentals, refreshing its image, and enhancing operational efficiency. Previously, she served as the CEO of Fursac from 2019 to 2023, transforming the brand and leading it up to join the Paris Fashion Week lineup. She also expanded the brand's image outside of France. She has an MBA from INSEAD. She's a member of the class of '08D, and she came to INSEAD with a scholarship from the George and Victoria Carlias Foundation. She graduated with honors from the Athens University of Economics and Business in 2005. And for those of you who are still thinking about a little bit of holiday shopping, I believe there is a Maje in Fontainebleau, in fact, and I'm sure you'll find the appropriate gift there. But in the meantime, please join me in welcoming Elina to the stage.
Thank you, and thank you for the advertising. It was not planned. It's a pity that they are leaving now. Dear deans, members of the faculty and staff, families and friends, and most importantly, dear INSEAD graduates. It is a great honor to be amongst you today, and I'm deeply humbled to be standing in front of you all. I would like to say hello to my fellow promotion of D08 and to have a special mention for Hervé, Michiel, and Cordula, who are no longer with us. I have deep ties with INSEAD. Important people in my life are INSEADers. To start with my husband and father of my children, but also many dear friends. Actually, a friend, a group member during P1 and P2, who I still call juror number 9, proofread this speech. People who played and indeed continue to play a significant role in my professional life. Since my time at BCG, I have been coming back often, for example, to meet with students and of course to support recruitment efforts. I have a special attachment to this place, thanks to the role INSEAD played in my life and to the role it is playing in the world. After today, your future visits will be as alumni, and you will hopefully enjoy that feeling during each visit, a feeling of coming home. It is a moment of celebration. Congratulations to you for making through this year. Congratulations to whomever you call family for having accompanied you, and no doubt in many cases for having tolerated you this year. Congratulations to your professors who have helped guide you to become more complete and responsible individuals and leaders. At the same time, it is a moment of contemplation, for the world is not doing very well. Even worse than when I graduated in the middle of a global economic crisis over 15 years ago. While preparing this speech, I was stunned to find out that there are currently 56 ongoing conflicts around the world. This reflects the highest number since World War II. While richness continues to be created in impressive orders for some, and global inequality between countries may be decreasing, inequality within many countries has been on the rise, and wealth inequality has been rising globally. I graduated from INSEAD in December '08. A Lehman Brothers presentation was actually scheduled on campus, and when Lehman collapsed, it was obvious that we were going to enter a global crisis. The discussions were animated around its intensity, and we were thinking it was too short. The dot-com crisis was only 7 years back. I think that no one could tell at that moment what would follow. Subprime, European debt crisis, multiple climate change and environmental crisis, pandemic, energy crisis, political instability. Being in crisis moment is the new normal, and we have to all get used to it. Do not worry, I'm not here to talk to you about statistics or economics. I think you had enough of that during the year. I would, however, like to share with you my personal experience, knowing it might not be relevant for some of you. While the context of the world that I just mentioned is terrifying, and while we are constantly incited as leaders to take a step back, to look and think at the big picture, I will argue today that we should start by the small picture, and by not forgetting the small things and your very personal contribution to your proper circle of influence. First of all, be open, agile, and optimistic. Be open to people. You never know in advance the role that each person will play in your life. I got married to an insider of my promotion with whom I had never exchanged a single word during INSEAD. We were on the same campus for 3 periods, but still, we could have assumed when we met months after INSEAD that if we had not spoken during a whole year, it could have been for a reason. And some of my closest INSEAD friends only became friends after INSEAD. Be open to opportunities and keep in mind that our trajectory is a sum of decisions taken on the spot and not necessarily a linear projection on some predefined track. I know that job hunt is challenging. Believe me, it was the case during my promotion. I think that my promotion retains the record for the worst 1-year post-MBA employment and salary statistics possibly ever. And I do hope that we will never lose this record. But you know what? We are all doing fine. And it might seem easy to say so after 16 years, but this is not what I mean. We were fine after INSEAD, whether we had a job or not. Yes, some of us were disappointed for not doing the move we wanted. Some of us were disappointed for going back to where we came from, whether that was a country or an employer. Some of us took risks and became entrepreneurs, even if that was not planned. And others followed a completely different path to reach their end target. We stood together, supported each other, and we ended up just fine. Keep that in mind, please, and be optimistic. After INSEAD, I ended up in consulting. I had really not planned for that. And to be honest, I do not really know what consulting was before INSEAD. But I found consultants really fascinating during my INSEAD year. I find them fearless, adventurous, so sure of themselves. So I ended up into consulting thinking that I would only stay for 2 or 3 years, the average life duration of a consultant. My first weeks and even months were really horrible. They had activated my email account 2 months before my arrival, and when I logged in, there were dozens of departure emails because the crisis was there. There were very few projects ongoing, and the good consultants were staffed on them. There was no time for experimentation with the new ones. BCGers in Paris barely knew that I could speak French. I was considered to be an outsider because French love their grandes écoles, and I had not studied in one. So I spent my time doing online trainings and working on proposals, some of which were even done without having a client lead. But then I started my first project. It was tough, and my first evaluation was average. And I remember feeling enraged because no one had really prepared me to succeed in this job. So I said to myself that if it was the same on the second one, and tough luck, it was with the same partner, I would leave. And then I started enjoying it and getting better at it and starting doing it my way. And initial planning was 2 years, and I ended up staying for 7 and building connections with a lot of different people. The way I ended up in NCPCP group is also completely random, but I seized the opportunity without thinking if there were evolution possibilities. I found out that the CEO of the group, who was the one who hired me, is an INSEADer and has also deep ties with INSEAD. And even if he's not my boss anymore, I'm there 9 years later, after 5 different roles and 3 children. Be kind and responsible. I understand this might seem very obvious and naive. And I'm also sure that many of you are engaged in many different causes, and I do really believe that you can make the difference in this world. But sometimes we tend to forget about the things that are within reach. I find it very difficult to formulate professional achievements, but I'm really proud about many little things where I have a tangible impact in people's lives. Supporting that girl who had been harassed by her previous manager, telling her that I will stand by her if she wants to take legal action, helping her get her confidence back and thrive, this is what I'm proud of. reading between the lines during a tough meeting and understanding that a colleague was going through a tough time personally, backing off to let him handle everything and supporting him is really important to me. Mentoring women in everyday interactions so that they can understand what they are capable of and stop putting limits to their ambitions is an everyday challenge. I've been in a very masculine environment, consulting, and a very feminine one, fashion. And believe me, there's still much to be done on gender equality in both. But again, what is really within reach? To empower every single woman, from an intern who will only spend some months with the company to a member of the executive committee, through everyday discussions and mentoring, to make sure no one thinks consciously or unconsciously during a recruitment process that a 30 to 40-year-old woman applying might have a baby. Offering professional opportunities to talents that have not done the same job before, as other people have done for me, is a risk that I very much enjoy taking. Don't get me wrong, I do not say that all this is more important than participating in associations, industry initiatives, forums, and fundraisers. I'm just saying that those small things are within reach and have a guaranteed impact. And I assure you that we can be good, well-performing, fair, and well-respected leaders while being kind, gentle, even caring. It is exactly the same with CSR policies. I do work in one of the most polluting industries in the world. And of course we need regulations and trajectories, and we have tons of KPIs to follow. It sometimes gets down to what direction you want to take. I will give you a very simple example. We are early in the season, some products are overperforming. We have the possibility to replenish them. So, on the one hand, the possibility to overachieve objectives. On the other hand, more production, more pollution, probably more discounted sales, so less responsible consumption. It is a very small decision. It will not change the world, but it is within reach. I just have put the mechanism in place to ensure that I am the one to make those trade-offs. Be true to yourself and follow your instincts. We all know INSEAD is about diversity. I mean, look at you. I got the stats of your promotion, and it is mind-blowing to see the different nationalities, ages, and backgrounds. It was Dean Veloso before asked me what had striken me at INSEAD, and for sure it was this first view of all those different people on campus. And this is something that we will never get with such intensity in your career, and I can guarantee you that. But it is also one more label on your forehead. I remember arriving on campus, Greek, coming from a small island and a marketing background. And I was the youngest in the promotion. I was so impressed by some of my peers, and part of me only wanted to blend in and have all my characteristics erased. So once you're out there, I urge you to be proud of that label, but not let it define you. Don't think what is expected from an INSEADer or what would others do. We want you, and we need you, with all the nuances and flaws that go with you. You will see in a couple of years that any interview has nothing to do with your skills or competencies. Your track record speaks for those. What people, organization, HR directors are looking for are inspiring the leaders, and we are all different. So embrace who you are. Work on knowing who you are, what energizes you, what makes you feel comfortable, what inspires you, because those are the environments and the situations where you will excel. Work on yourself and on your leadership to become a better you, not to become an incarnation of someone that we could describe in a book as the perfect leader, because the perfect leader does not exist. Work on yourself, but do not overdo it. Just embrace who you are. It is so satisfying and relieving to have stopped working on some of my areas of development. My imposter syndrome is still there. I actually Googled Jane when I received her email to give that speech so as to verify if she really exists. But as a friend told me once, my imposter syndrome is just the friend who is there and just keeps me from having to have feet on the ground and ensure I do not become someone else. And it also feels so good since I decided to stop giving generic answers to questions that are just not relevant for me. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I do not think that way, so I have stopped inventing answers. I just say it out loud. Follow your instincts and what feels right for you. During my maternity leave, I received a phone call from my boss proposing to me a good job within the company, one that would make me move from a corporate to an operational role. And we all know that this is the biggest challenge for all ex-consultants. It did not feel right. A lot of things were happening in my life at that moment. Becoming a mom already seemed as a huge challenge, and I did not want to face another one professionally at that moment. Everyone tried to convince me to take it, because there wouldn't be another opportunity like that. But I said no, it was not the right moment. And they were right. There was no other opportunity like that, but there were different opportunities. I drove BCG crazy by asking for 3 sabbatical leaves and saying I would not take no for an answer. It worked. I left consulting when I felt I needed a greater sense of belonging. And 2 years before actually taking it, I refused the job I have now. When it came around the second time, I felt the job was ready for me. You know what is right for you, and how it appears on paper does not matter. It is your personal story. I will leave you with 2 images. The first one is a very personal one. It is my refugee at any moment of anxiety. It is a sand dune on which I zoom again and again and again until I find the grain of sand that I represent in this world. And that brings me peace and serenity. In the end, everyone will be fine. The second one comes from a book of my kids called 7 Billion Faces. I guess they will change it to 8 billion faces. It speaks about all elements of diversity, including physical characteristics, language, religion, habits. The last page shows a sketch of a very colorful and vivid typical urban scene with a large avenue, tall buildings, cars, people. We can almost listen to the noises of the city. And it has the same sketch without any color. The conclusion is the following. Imagine how horribly sad our world would be if everyone looked like everyone else, if everyone thought, ate, dressed, and acted the same way. So isn't it wonderful, a world where no one looks like anyone else? Be yourselves, follow your own personal path. This is the only thing we expect from you. Thank you very much for having me, and congratulations once again.